Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Madhya Pradesh Tourism Development Corporation and the Archaeological Survey of India are proud to welcome you to the Sonne Lumiere at the Western Group of Temples at Khajuraho. These temples have been maintained by the Archaeological Survey, whose excavations have also uncovered an exciting new temple, possibly the largest yet. This discovery has urged us on our quest to recreate the life of these magnificent temples. We hope you enjoy the show.
निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सर्वकार्येषु
of the master sculptor of Khajuraho. Born to a golden era when royal patronage and consummate craft skills came together in a glorious effusion, when craftsmen achieved an impeccable harmony of the material and spiritual. In my persona, I incorporate generations of skilled hands and dedicated hearts who came here at the invitation of the Chandela kings to build these magnificent temples. In the 1,000 years of my existence, I have seen great kings with visions of glory, and I have borne witness to the fulfillment of their dreams. It was the time of a great cultural upsurge, when excellence was the norm. We sculptors drew on a rich heritage of images, the collective product of centuries of sophisticated development, by poets and priests, dancers, painters, and yes, innumerable sculptors. It all began near distant Kashi on an enchanted moonlit night, when a lovely young woman, Hemvati, bathed languorously in a forest pool. She was so beautiful that Chandrama, the moon god, was captivated. He descended to earth and seduced her. As the first blush of dawn colored the sky, Chandrama reluctantly prepared to return to his celestial abode. Hemvati traveled to Khajuraho, where she gave birth to Chandravarman, who it is said built 85 temples to atone for his mother's sin. History, however, tells it differently. and ascribes the building of these superb temples to the Chandela kings between the 10th and 12th centuries. Early rulers grew to power as vassal chieftains of the Pratihara rulers of northern India, and generations of Chandela kings drew their swords repeatedly on behalf of their liege lords. The environs of Khajuraho often resounded to the tread of armies, the shrill of trumpets, the rattle of battle drums, as Chandela forces marched out in martial order. In 940 AD, Chandela king Yashovarman attacked the fabled fortress of Kalinjar, the strategic gateway to central India.
सैनिकों कूच करो!
I shall present the keys of the fort to my liege lord, the Pratihara king. But first, name me all our fallen. Their families must be gifted villages to sustain their descendants.
An excellent idea, sire. It will inspire our soldiers to fight fiercely, freed of concern for their families.
My lord, let us proceed to Khajuraho, the ancient seat of your ancestors, to offer thanks for this great victory.
I shall do better, my beloved queen. I shall build a temple there in gratitude to Lord Vishnu, who guided our swords.
Oh, my lord, that will bring you great religious merit. The gods will be so pleased.
And so will the Brahmins. Prepare to march to Khajuraho!
Yashovarman often visited the temple site to view the progress of his temple. Under Yashovarman's son and successor Dhangadev, the Chandelas became one of the strongest and most wealthy powers of northern India. The rich booty of war and revenues from conquered lands poured into the kingdom. In thanksgiving for divine bounty, Raja Dhangadev built the Vishwanath temple, dedicated to Lord Shiv. The extravagant ceremonies that marked its completion included the weighing of the king against gold and precious stones.
I shall present the keys of the fort to my liege lord, the Pratihara king. But first, name me all our fallen. Their families must be gifted villages to sustain their descendants.
An excellent idea, sire. It will inspire our soldiers to fight fiercely, freed of concern for their families.
My lord, let us proceed to Khajuraho, the ancient seat of your ancestors, to offer thanks for this great victory.
I shall do better, my beloved queen. I shall build a temple there in gratitude to Lord Vishnu, who guided our swords.
Oh, my lord, that will bring you great religious merit. The gods will be so pleased.
And so will the Brahmins. Prepare to march to Khajuraho!
glittering cavalcade of richly caparisoned elephants, contingents of cavalry, their lances glinting in the sun, and infantry soldiers with drawn swords. Drums rolled and heralds chanted the king's glorious titles.
Maharaja Dhiraj, Kalinjaradhipati, Raja Yashovarman, पधार रहे हैं।
This is the site where I shall build my temple.
An excellent choice, sire. The precinct is already sanctified by the earlier temples built by your ancestors.
And the surrounding hills and miles of dense forest will make it easy to keep out intruders.
This has to be the finest temple in northern India, a fitting symbol of Chandela's supremacy.
But sire, who shall be your architect?
Search the length and breadth of Hindustan, my minister, to find an architect unmatched in the land, a man of formidable learning, of bold imagination, of vision and foresight. Only such a one can build the temple of my dreams.
Maharaj, I have heard of one such as you seek. He is like Vishwakarma, the architect of the universe who made all things.
Is he steeped in the scriptures and the canons of temple architecture? Is he an engineer? A mathematician?
Indeed, sire. Moreover, he is righteous and kind, free from malice, jealousy and greed, and concentrated in mind.
Then he meets all the requirements of a master architect. Let him commence work in consultation with our priests.
The temple site throbbed with activity as thousands of people worked to fulfill Yashovarman's dream. Great caravans of stone creaked into the precinct day after day. We sculptors performed rituals to purify our bodies and meditated to still our minds. And as we worked, we taught our disciples the essence of our art. This, my son, is to be the figure of a celestial damsel. Remember the units of measurement I taught you?
Yes, Guruji. The size of the palm must equal the face. The body is 5, 9 or 13 such palm units. The chin should be half the forehead and the...
Enough. You have learnt your lessons well.
But Guruji, how do we imbue the figures with life and vitality?
By working on the distribution of the body weight, my son. Study the 3 turns of the body in this figure. The head is one direction, the torso turns in another, and the knee is bent.
Truly marvelous, Guruji. This Naika will appear as though she is about to step off the wall. But tell me, Guruji, why do we sculpt figures of women on temples?
Because it is written that as a house without a wife is barren, so too a temple without the depiction of female beauty will bear no fruit.
Tell me now, Guruji, of the figures of the gods.
Well, we first recall that the divine cannot be described. It is Neti. It is not this, not this, not this.
Then how do you sculpt?
First, we abstain from any activity that might distract us. Then, we meditate to comprehend the essence of the deity. Always remember, my son, a sculptor's body and mind are the tools of his craft. Yashovarman often visited the temple site to view the progress of his temple.
this temple to our Lord Vishnu Vaikunt is truly sublime.
Once completed, it will outshine all that has gone before and will be such as can never be replicated.
We wanted you to build on a grand scale, but this surpasses our dreams.
You will notice, sire, that this temple has more chambers than earlier temples. It has 6 sections, and the roofs of each ascend in tiers to the spire above the sanctum.
Just like the Himalayas, the home of the gods. Our priests remind us that our temple must have a lake where devotees may bathe before they approach the Lord.
Sire, the contours of the land will enable us to build such a lake.
Commence then its building, and it shall be called Sagar, for the sea.
Under Yashovarman's son and successor Dhangadev, the Chandelas became one of the strongest and most wealthy powers of northern India. The rich booty of war and revenues from conquered lands poured into the kingdom. In thanksgiving for divine bounty, Raja Dhangadev built the Vishwanath temple, dedicated to Lord Shiv. The extravagant ceremonies that marked its completion included the weighing of the king against gold and precious stones.
My lord, the scale is set up. Come and be seated upon one side.
Gladly, Purohitji. Now let the gold be poured on to the other side of the scale. See, the king is rising.
Ah, now the gold has balanced the king's weight.
Now that is enough. It is time for us to return to earth. Distribute the gold, first to the Brahmins, and then scatter it in great handfuls to our people, in the name of our Lord Vishwanath and their king.
Almighty King, source of munificence, hail to thee, Lord of bravery, majesty, and might. All hail to the King. All hail to the King. All hail to the King. Maharaj Dhiraj Dhangadev ki
And now, my beloved architect Chicha, come forward. I have no words to commend your supreme artistry.
Sire, to labor for our king in the glory of God is reward enough.
True, my friend, but some temporal reward is also called for. I gift you lands, the revenues of which will be yours and your descendants in perpetual remembrance of this glorious achievement. Ah, I see the poet Ram. Come forward. I have heard of the hymn you composed.
Sire, it is but a humble tribute to the Chandela kings and to our Lord Vishwanath.
Sing it for us, O Ram. Sing it for the glory of God.
विटप विकट वटाना अजायमानाय बीजभूताय रुद्राय नमः पालन विलय कृते निष्क्रियायामपि.
Your glorious verse leaves us spellbound. I bestow upon you this verse. Use it well, my friend. And now, our priests. For you, Rajguruji, who shall henceforth tend to this temple, I gift you cattle, grain, and land to relieve you of all material concern and enable you to devote all your energies to the Lord.
was succeeded by his son Gangadev, who initiated the building of a temple to the Lord Vishnu. A deep trough was excavated in the sanctified ground. Grain was placed in it with copper, silver, gold, and great handfuls of the 9 precious gems, all symbols of the concentrated essence of the earth.
Om Syona Prithivino Bhavan Rikshara Niveshani Jachanaha Sharamassa Prathaha Om Bhumi Kurmananta Varahebhyo Namaha.
And when at last the temple was ready and its image installed, the king and his entourage approached in ceremonial procession to make the first offering.
Look, look! The king approaches! The king! The king! Oh, what a glorious procession! Splendid! Splendid!
How beautiful our temple looks, my lord. Festooned with garlands of flowers, its golden finial gleaming amidst the bright flags that flutter from its roofs.
Yes, my queen. And it is set like a jewel amongst the temples built by our forebears. Listen to the sounds of worship drifting from them in the evening air. Truly, they lift one's soul.
Idam Vishnur Vichakrame Tredhani Dade Padam Samudhamasya Paghum Sureswaha.
Of the temple, lit with flickering oil lamps, was heavy with the fragrance of incense. The king and his queen paused before the sanctum and worshipped the Lord with the 5 elements. Water from the 5 sacred rivers, flowers to represent the earth, incense to signify the wind. They proffered the sacred fire, while the priest rang bells to recall ether.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vidyadhar ascended the throne in 1004. On the day of the solar eclipse that very year, his chief queen, Satyabhama, visited the temples with her ladies soon after the inauspicious period had passed.
This inauspicious day of the solar eclipse auspicious by your presence.
Gurudev, you do me too much honor. I'm just a supplicant to the Lord.
Since you have bathed in the lake to purify yourself, we may now approach the Lord.
Pray with me, Gurudev, that the evil associated with the discord of the heavens be averted. Now, please gather the priests who serve this temple.
They await your pleasure, my queen.
It is written that the malevolence associated with the eclipse of the sun may be countered by gifts made to Brahmins. I therefore gift land to each of you. May you and yours prosper in the glory of God.
Maharani Satyabhama ki Jai Ho!
In 1019, the dreaded invader from Central Asia, Mahmud Ghazni, descended upon Hindustan to plunder its legendary wealth. His armies stained its northern plains with the blood of the bravest of the brave. King Vidyadhara received news of his approach.
Maharaj, Ghazni's forces are even now marching towards Kalinjar.
I have long dreaded this day. Send messages to our allies. Tell them that it is time to come together to combat this great threat.
Sire, the messengers shall be dispatched immediately. And now, I await your further orders.
Summon the men to arms. Instruct our forces at Mahoba to march to Kalinjar. Dispatch the infantry, the cavalry, and the war elephants.
King Vidyadhar and his allies mustered a huge army. Deterred by the formidable force, Mahmud Ghazni was forced to retreat.
Victory! Victory in arms! Praise be to our king!
Our mighty army struck fear in the heart of Ghazni.
He'll return soon. Mark my words. Very soon. Mahmud Ghazni does not give up so easily.
Mahmud Ghazni returned 3 years later to lay siege once again to the fortress of Kalinjar. Many long months passed, but Ghazni's army was unable to breach its impregnable defenses. Eventually, an honorable settlement was reached, and after an exchange of gifts, Ghazni's forces withdrew, thwarted yet again by Vidyadhar. The king returned to Khajuraho flushed with victory and enormous prestige, and initiated the building of this, the Kandarya Mahadev temple, dedicated to the Lord Shiv. The royal architects carefully studied each of the existing temples for several months.
So many magnificent temples have been built at Khajuraho. My mind is struggling to create one that surpasses the others.
Guruji, let this one stand out for its sublime architecture. Let its proportions be perfect in every respect.
Yes, I like that idea. Let us develop it. I have it. This temple will be a symphony of form and line that will proclaim the glory of God.
It will stand out for its perfect geometry. Soaring vertical lines will be balanced by horizontal bands covered with hundreds of sculpted figures. Projections will be set off by recesses, and there will be an incredible array of moldings, offsets, and bands of carving.
It will be a superb harmony of sculpture and architecture, a veritable paean of perfection. There will be a towering spire buttressed by smaller ones that will bring a special rhythm and movement to the shikhar and accentuate its height. What an inspired concept! Now to the drawing board and the complex mathematical calculations that will achieve the immaculate balance we seek.
Construction began, and slowly, stone by stone, the temple began to take shape. A huge ramp was constructed to the 31-meter spire, and the enormous blocks of stone were drawn one by one and carefully maneuvered into position.
And now, my brothers, for the final element, the keystone. The ropes are secure. Draw it up. Pull, my brothers. Pull! Use every last ounce of strength. It is so heavy. I have to strain every muscle and sinew. Courage, my friend. Remember, we labor in the name of the Lord. Here it is. Now place it to the very top of the spire. Carefully, carefully. If it falls, it will crush us. That's it. That's it. It's done, my brothers. It's done. The temple is at last completed. Thanks be to God.
The architect and I, the master sculptor, transferred to our king and patron the religious merit we would have gained from our sacred endeavor.
My architect, my joy knows no bounds at the completion of this magnificent edifice. I give to you this purse of gold, these robes, and this jeweled girdle.
Sire, with your permission, I gift these very same objects to the master sculptor.
I receive them with reverence and gratitude. Although my hands have labored for the glory of God, all divine blessings that may accrue to me for this work, I now gift to our architect. For the temple was his concept, and he gave us the privilege of working on it.
Thank you, my sculptor. And now, hear ye. All the religious merit I have received, I hereby transfer to you, my king. For without your patronage, sire, this temple could never have been built.
Thank you, my architect. Thank you. I bow my head in thanksgiving to the Lord Gandarya Mahadev.
Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
But let us not forget that though these temples were financed by kings, they were built by the labor of thousands. Generations of sculptors, including myself, lived and died in their creation. Let us celebrate their memory.
O old artist of Khajuraho,
Your song still lives on in stone. I am alive. There lives within me an unquenchable thirst for life. I have no sympathy for those who are dead while still alive. Yet if I were living when you held your chisel in your hand, I'd ask the good Lord to turn me into your favored block of stone. O bold artist of Khajuraho, your song still lives on in stone. Such was the religious fervor of the Chandelas and such the prosperity of the realm that numerous temples and shrines were built over the years. The sacred precinct was thronged with royal worshippers, their entourages and their priests, as they circumambulated the temples and then worshipped the deities within.
Come, my lady. The hour of evening worship is almost upon us. Observe, the chief priest approaches.
Sire, it is time to circumambulate the temple.
Yes, Gurudev. Let us proceed.
You will notice, sire, that the activities of everyday life are depicted here on the base. These are all aspects of life that we must view and transcend before we ascend the temple platform. Here, sire, are images of the gods. Let us pause to invoke each. Here now are the celestial women that symbolize abundance. Pause before them. Admire their languid eyes, slim waists, their voluptuousness and sensuality. Appreciate their beauty, but be not impassioned by it. These are the scenes of love. Notice the pure devotion in their countenances, sire, and move on, shedding yet another aspect of material life. For man must transcend the body before he can aspire to the spirit. Remember also that the act of love is a powerful symbol. It represents the moment when the self is left behind. But above all, it is a symbol of the cosmic act of creation. Sire, after your circumambulation of the temple, your mind is focused and still. You are now ready to enter the house of the Lord.
To enhance the grandeur of temple ritual, King Vidyadhar summoned temple dancers from Kalinjar to dance in worship to the Lord Kandarya Mahadev. A royal gathering witnessed the sacred ritual.
The dancer enters the temple. How beautiful she is!
She has performed the 16 rituals of adornment.
She is robed in garments of red and gold brocade and bedecked with dazzling ornaments.
Truly, she looks like the bride of the Lord.
Hush! She has performed obeisance to the king and her guru and now approaches the Lord.
The dance begins.
Sublime, truly sublime. How gracefully she moves, like poetry in motion.
She pours her very soul in each expression, and every movement is a prayer of the heart.
The dance is ending. She is performing her final namaskar.
precincts were alive with color, movement, and the sounds of worship. But in the early morning, all was still. As dawn illumined the sky, devotees bathed in the lake and offered water to the sun, pouring it through cupped hands, reciting the sacred Gayatri Mantra, the ritual invocation to the sun.
Om Bhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi.
And as the volume of chants reached a crescendo, the sun touched the portals of the temples. King Vidyadhar died in 1029. Most of his successors lacked the martial prowess and vision of their illustrious forebears. The kingdom reeled under attacks from ancient enemies and newer Muslim invaders. Focus shifted to the more defensible Kalinjar. Khajuraho, however, was protected from the ravages of war by the thick forests and rugged hills that surrounded it. But kings, preoccupied with war, had less and less time to visit the temples. Maintenance fell, and the temple precincts became increasingly deserted. We sculptors gradually moved on to other locations, and townspeople drifted away to new centers of power. A group of yogis, famous for their healing skills, lived among the temples for a while. The famous chronicler Ibn Battuta visited them at Khajuraho in 1335, almost 400 years after the Lakshman temple was built.
The town carries vestiges of its former glory, but it is like a widow, stripped of her ornaments. How beautiful it once must have been.
The great wooden palaces are silent, and the wind howls through their empty chambers.
Even the temple precincts wear a neglected look.
Sir, you must visit the yogis who live here. They have a considerable reputation as healers.
Take me to them.
Om Jao Khadhi Somaragner Bauvihi Shatavichakshanaha. Yogi ji, help me, please, Yogi ji. Yogi ji, help my daughter, Yogi ji. Help her, please.
Subhanallah, there are hordes of people around them.
My son, what ails you?
Sir, I am merely a curious visitor. I ask only your blessings.
You have them, my son.
Satisfy the curiosity of a traveler, sir, and tell me how you achieve the wondrous cures you are famed for.
We heal through the powers of Sri Vaidyanath and of Surya, the sun, who has great curative powers.
Subhanallah, the Almighty works in mysterious ways. Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
Years passed. Khajuraho slipped into oblivion, its glorious temples forgotten by all but a handful of villagers. The fecund forest reclaimed the land, and jungle vines drew their green veils over the temples. Extreme temperatures created fissures in the great edifices. Earthquakes shook the ground. Spires fell, temple platforms disintegrated, and the dust of centuries covered them in great mounds. And then, in 1838, a British officer, Captain T.S. Burt, passed this way while mapping large tracts of central India.
Prepare for our departure, men. We leave at first light.
Sahab, before you leave, there is something that you must see.
What, my good man?
There are some temples in the jungle, Sahab.
Temples, eh? Very well. Let's have a look. There is naught here but this infernal jungle.
Look, Sahab, look! There! Ahead of you!
Why, the man spoke truly after all. A hidden city of the gods. I must have a closer look. See if you can find a way up that wall, my man.
Yes, Sahab, come. You may climb up from this side.
What wondrous images! The sculptors have wrought magic with their hammer and chisel.
Yes, Sahab. And once these precincts were thronged with royal devotees, and the sounds of their worship rose to the heavens.
Burt came and went, but Khajuraho was still lost to the world. Only a few local people continued to perform small personal devotions at the temples, each according to individual preference and predilection.
Devanam Paramo Shri Vaikuntha Muni.
Thus, there was the man who performed the parikrama of the Lakshman temple, singing softly in ecstatic devotion to the Lord.
Karoti Manasa Satham Jagat Palanam.
At the Vishwanath, a woman often paused before the sculpture of a divine damsel, removing a thorn from her foot.
I stop here every day to consider the suffering of the human condition, the karma that brings pain, and the need to perform good deeds in recompense.
Here, at the Kandhari Mahadev, another would circumambulate the temple, her womanhood inspired by the seven mothers, worshipped in conjunction with Shiv.
Trishula Chandra Hidhare Mahavrishabha Vahini Maheshwari Swarupena Narayani Namostute.
At the Devi Jagdambi temple, a devotee would pause before the image of a woman looking into a mirror.
I am reminded that the world is but an illusion. It has no meaning, no substance in itself. It is transient. It disappears when the self becomes one with the supreme, all-encompassing Godhead.
Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare.
They came, as now do thousands of others, drawn by the sublime imagery of these temples, to celebrate life in all its moods, to seek solace, to seek truth, to seek balance and harmony, to seek peace.
Om Shanti Sushanti.